Ethan Cole sat behind his massive mahogany desk, the skyline of Manhattan glittering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city lights shimmered off the glass, painting the office in soft amber reflections. He sipped his coffee, black and bitter, matching the hardness he had built around himself over the years. Cole Enterprises wasn't just a company. It was his empire. Every deal, every acquisition, every contract reflected his willpower, his intellect, his ruthlessness. He was powerful, feared, respected, admired. Yet, despite all the accolades, the bonuses, the skyscrapers he owned, something crucial was missing. Sophia Miller. Her name hit him like a sudden thunderclap. He hadn't seen her in 3 years. Not since that night, the night that had changed everything. 3 years ago, she had been everything. Loyal, kind, unwavering. She had loved him for who he was before the power, before the empire, before the cold mask that now covered his heart. And he had pushed her away, misunderstood her, let her walk out of his life with no explanation, no apology, no fight. Now her name appeared in an email on his sleek tablet. He hadn't opened it yet. He didn't want to, but curiosity gnawed at him, relentless and sharp. He remembered that night vividly, like a scar etched into his memory. Get out. The words had been flat, emotionless, colder than the winter wind outside their Brooklyn apartment. Her eyes had been wide, shimmering with unshed tears. She hadn't begged. She hadn't argued. She had just left. And he had never stopped thinking about her. The office around him was quiet, almost eerily so. Claire, his assistant of 4 years, stood at the doorway. She was sharp, efficient, always precise. But she had learned one unspoken truth. Nothing escaped Ethan Cole's notice. "Sir, the Chicago acquisition numbers," she began, clipboard in hand. Ethan waved her off with a dismissive hand. Later. He couldn't focus. Her name haunted him like a shadow, like a ghost that refused to leave his office, no matter how many deals he closed, how many skyscrapers he added to his portfolio. 3 years. 3 long years. And suddenly, she was back at his mind. His chest tightened, a sensation he hadn't felt in years, something resembling fear, or maybe longing. "I might have lost her forever," he whispered to himself, almost involuntarily. Flashback Brooklyn 3 years ago. Ethan and Sophia had shared a small, cramped apartment in Brooklyn. It was cluttered, noisy, imperfect, but it was theirs. Bills stacked in corners, dishes in the sink, dreams bigger than their pockets. Yet in that chaos, there had been warmth, security, love. "I know we'll make it," she had said one night, her hand wrapped around his, fingers intertwining. Her eyes were bright, full of belief. Ethan had smiled a rare, unguarded smile. "I hope you're right." She had been right eventually, but success changed him. The late nights, the pressure, the constant scrutiny. It had hardened him, made him suspicious. And one misunderstanding, one small slip, and everything collapsed. Investor emails, confidential reports, numbers that didn't add up. It pointed toward Sophia, as if she had betrayed him. His mind, clouded by ambition and fear, didn't give her the benefit of the doubt. "Get out," he had said. Her lips trembled. Her eyes begged silently. But he had walked away, and she had silently closed the door behind her. And that was it. Present day. Ethan stared at the skyline, city lights reflecting off his steel cufflinks. His empire was perfect. $3.2 billion valuation. Every deal, every investment, every skyscraper spoke of his brilliance. Yet his heart felt hollow. Claire entered again, tentative this time. "Sir, the email from Sophia." Ethan froze. "Delete it." Claire blinked, unsure. "Are you sure?" Ethan's eyes narrowed, cold. "I don't repeat myself." She left quietly, tablet in hand. But Ethan couldn't shake the thought, the memory of her, the sound of her laughter, the way she believed in him when no one else did. 3 years. And all that time, he had carried the weight of his mistake. He leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes, and allowed himself the faintest flicker of vulnerability, a crack in the armor. "I lost her," he whispered, "and it's entirely my fault." Sophia Miller stepped out of the cab, heels clicking against the wet Manhattan pavement. Neon lights from Times Square reflected off puddles from the earlier rain. The city was alive, bustling, chaotic, but she moved through it with purpose. Confident, elegant, independent. 3 years had changed her. Gone was the anxious, uncertain girl who once waited up for Ethan Cole to come home from his late office nights. In her place was a woman who could command a boardroom, negotiate contracts, and hold her own against the most powerful men in New York. Her consulting firm, Miller and Associates, was growing steadily. She had built it from scratch, just like Ethan had built his empire. She had learned to survive, thrive, and excel without relying on anyone. But some nights his face haunted her. Ethan, the man she had loved more than life itself. The man who had left her with no explanation. The man she still secretly longed for, even if she refused to admit it. She shook the thought away. Focus. Business. Meetings. Deadlines. That was her life now. Her phone buzzed. A calendar reminder lit the screen. Cole Enterprises gala invitation. Her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected it. Not now. Not ever. Sophia exhaled slowly. Stay professional, she whispered to herself. You're Sophia Miller. You're strong. You can handle this. Meanwhile, Ethan Cole was preparing for the same gala at the top floor of Cole Enterprises Tower. Crystal chandeliers, sleek black and white decor, catered delicacies, cameras, and flashing lights awaited the city's elite. Ethan's reflection in the elevator mirrored the cold CEO everyone knew. Sharp suit, polished shoes, expression unreadable. But inside, chaos churned. He hadn't expected Sophia to enter his world again. Her name in an email had unsettled him more than he cared to admit. He paced his office moments before the event. Every corner, every detail screamed power and precision. Yet he felt hollow. He recalled the last night he had seen her, her eyes full of pain, the trembling of her lips, the silence that had felt louder than any scream. I ruined everything, he whispered under his breath. Claire knocked softly. Sir, your car is ready. Ethan nodded. Let's go. As he descended the tower in the elevator, his mind raced. How could 3 years pass? And here she was. Sophia arrived at the gala early, letting the crowd settle before making her entrance. She moved gracefully through the glass doors of the ballroom, the clinking of her heels announcing her presence to anyone paying attention. Ethan noticed immediately. Across the room, she stood, radiant in a navy evening gown that hugged her form elegantly. Her hair fell softly over her shoulders, perfectly styled, yet natural. She hadn't changed, except she had. Stronger, brighter, more assured. Time seemed to slow for him. The crowd's chatter became a dull hum. Cameras flashed, but none of it mattered. Only her did. Sophia's eyes swept across the room, and for the first time in years, they locked with his. Recognition, shock, and a trace of old emotion flickered in both their gazes. Ethan's chest tightened. The man who controlled every aspect of his life, every deal, every boardroom meeting, suddenly felt powerless. Sophia walked past clusters of socialites and executives, confident and unbothered, her heels clicking rhythmically. Her calm, measured steps reminded him of every evening they had shared, running through Brooklyn streets, walking home hand in hand, whispering about a future they were supposed to have together. Claire leaned close. Sir, she's here. Ethan's jaw tightened. I know. Sophia approached the refreshments quietly, scanning the room before finally stepping closer to where he stood, surrounded by board members. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to avoid him. But something deeper, curiosity, unresolved feelings, maybe hope, kept her moving forward. Their first words were cautious, clipped. Sophia, he said, voice low, controlled. Ethan, she replied, her voice soft but unwavering. Neither spoke for a moment, just studying each other. Time collapsed. Memories flooded back. Brooklyn nights, laughter in their cramped apartment, whispered promises, tears, arguments, love, and the heartbreak of being pushed away. Finally, Sophia broke the silence. I didn't expect to see you here. I don't expect to see anyone from the past, Ethan said, clipped. Professional. Cold. She smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly. 3 years, that's a long time to disappear. His gaze dropped. I had reasons. The words felt hollow even to him. She shook her head slowly, sadness flickering in her eyes. I know you did, but it hurt, Ethan. It really hurt. He flinched inwardly. The realization of how deeply he had hurt her was sharp and immediate. They stood in silence for a few moments, the soft music, clinking glasses, and murmurs of the crowd fading into nothing. Ethan's hand itched to reach for her, to pull her close, to apologize properly, but his pride and fear held him back. Sophia's lips pressed into a thin line. She had grown, learned to protect herself, but he could still see the pain, the lingering love, and the vulnerability she carried for him. I don't know if I can forgive you yet, she admitted softly, but I want to understand, she added. Ethan nodded. Then let me try. Please. Time slowed around them, the distance between them charged with electricity and emotion. For the first time in years, Ethan realized that no deal, no power, no empire mattered as much as the woman standing in front of him. Sophia stopped just a few feet from Ethan, the soft hum of the gala around them fading into background noise. Her heels clicked softly on the polished marble floor. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. Her hand brushed the edge of the table, almost subconsciously. Ethan. Her voice was calm, but there was a subtle tremor beneath it. A tremor only he would notice. He froze. Sophia. The word was clipped, professional, but his eyes betrayed him. There was a flicker of something she hadn't seen in years, vulnerability. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. 3 years of separation, pain, and silence condensed into that single gaze. I didn't expect to see you here, she said softly, her hands clasped in front of her, a defensive posture, yet she didn't step back. I don't expect to see anyone from the past, he replied. His tone was cold, controlled, yet the slight tightness in his jaw betrayed him. She studied him carefully. The man before her was the same Ethan Cole, sharp suit, perfect posture, cold, commanding presence. But something had changed. He seemed smaller, almost human. 3 years of absence hadn't erased their history. Every memory, every laugh, every tear came rushing back. Sophia swallowed hard. 3 years, she said quietly. That's a long time to disappear. Ethan looked down at his shoes. I had reasons. The words felt hollow, even to him. You had reasons, she repeated slowly. Do you know how it felt? To wake up every day, hoping, waiting, and finding nothing. His chest tightened. He wanted to reach for her, to explain, to undo the past. But words stuck in his throat. She looked away for a moment, scanning the room as if the crowd could protect her from the pain in her own heart. I moved on, she whispered. Kind of. He flinched at the words. Kind of, he asked, desperate, the vulnerability creeping into his voice. I never stopped caring, she admitted softly. Her eyes shimmered under the chandelier lights. Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to say, I never stopped either. But pride, fear, and the walls he had built over the years held him back. Flashback, Brooklyn apartment, 3 years ago. Ethan remembered that rainy evening vividly. Sophia had been sitting by the window, hair wet from the storm outside. I'm scared, Ethan, she had whispered. I feel like we're losing each other before we even really had it. He had grabbed her hands, desperate. No, we're fine. Trust me. But the moment his phone buzzed with urgent emails about investors and potential leaks, he pulled away. He had chosen work over love. He had chosen fear over trust. And that night, everything broke. Back at the gala, Ethan's hand twitched slightly, wanting to reach out. He could almost feel her warmth across the few feet, separating them. He could almost hear the rhythm of her heartbeat, steady and familiar, yet so far away. You've changed, he said finally. Not a question, a statement. And you haven't, she replied. Sharp, guarded. He flinched slightly. She still had that power over him. The waiter passed by with a tray of champagne. Sophia's fingers brushed against a flute. Ethan noticed. He noticed everything. Her posture, the way her hair caught the light, the faint perfume he remembered. It reminded him of every ordinary moment they had shared. The Sunday mornings in Brooklyn, the shared coffee, the small arguments over dinner, the quiet nights on the sofa. I can't stop thinking about it, he whispered almost to himself. She tilted her head, curious. About what? That night. About losing you. About everything I did wrong. Her lips pressed into a thin line. I've thought about it too, she admitted. Her voice was soft, vulnerable, but strong. The tension between them was electric. Neither could move. Neither could speak further without giving away too much of their heart. Sophia finally stepped a little closer. Her hand brushed his sleeve. A spark. Small. Tentative. But it was there. Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to reach out. Apologize. Hold her. Never let go. But he stayed still. I should have trusted you, he whispered. And I let fear destroy us. Tears threatened to spill from Sophia's eyes. I wanted to trust you, she admitted quietly. But you left me no choice. They stood, inches apart, the world around them fading. The music, the chatter, the laughter, all distant echoes. It was just them. Two hearts scarred by time, yet drawn irresistibly back to each other. The room felt smaller now. The gala continued around them, but Ethan and Sophia existed in a bubble where the past and present collided. Ethan took a deep breath. He wanted to fix everything. But where do you start after 3 years of mistakes? Where do you begin with a heart that's been broken by someone you loved the most? Sophia. His voice cracked slightly. He hated that. He cleared his throat and tried again. I was wrong. About everything. Sophia raised an eyebrow, arms crossed. Was wrong, she repeated, a hint of disbelief in her voice. Do you even understand what you did to me? His chest tightened. I know I hurt you. More than I can say. I let fear control me. My ego. My pride. And I let it destroy us. She studied him. The man she had once loved. The man who had caused her nights of tears and doubts. And yet, there was still something familiar. Something she had missed more than she admitted to herself. I trusted you, she said softly, her voice almost breaking. I loved you. He winced at the words, the weight of them pressing into his chest. I never stopped caring, he admitted. I was blind. I didn't see what was right in front of me. I let you go, and I'll never forgive myself for it. Sophia took a step closer. Her eyes softened, but her guard remained. You can't erase the past, she whispered. You can only try to make the present better. Ethan nodded slowly. I'll spend every day trying, if you'll let me. Flashback, Brooklyn, 3 years ago. The memory hit him sharply. Sophia sitting at the kitchen table, tears brimming in her eyes. I trusted you, Ethan, she had whispered. I believed in us. He had been furious, not at her, but at the situation. Investors, company leaks, rumors, everything screamed betrayal. He had chosen logic over love, and that night, logic had won. The door had closed behind her, and he had been left alone with silence, wealth, and regret. Back to present, Ethan reached for her hand. A trembling, tentative gesture. Sophia didn't pull away immediately. Her fingers hovered near his, unsure. I don't know if I can forgive you yet, she admitted, her voice low, strong, yet vulnerable. But I want to try. He nodded. Then let me prove it, he said. I'll spend every day proving it if I have to. The air between them was electric. The tension, the longing, the love that had never truly died, all coiled tightly around them. Sophia's lips quivered as she took a small step closer. You hurt me deeply, she whispered, and I don't want to get hurt again. Ethan's hand finally touched hers, a soft, hesitant grasp, but it was enough. For the first time in years, he felt alive, not because of money, power, or success, but because the woman he had loved most was standing in front of him. The gala music swirled around them. The room seemed to fade away. They were alone in their universe. Ethan spoke quietly, almost to himself. I'll never make the same mistake again. Never. I swear. Sophia looked at him, searching his eyes. Words are easy, Ethan, she said softly, but I want actions. He nodded. Actions. That's what she deserved. And this time, he would not fail. The gala had started to wind down. Soft music played in the background, the clinking of glasses mingling with low conversation. But for Ethan and Sophia, the world outside their bubble barely existed. Sophia's hand rested lightly on Ethan's arm, a tentative connection. It was the smallest gesture, but it carried everything: trust, doubt, and a flicker of old love. "I don't want to be hurt again," she whispered, voice low, almost lost in the background music. "I need to be sure before I give myself fully." Ethan nodded solemnly. "I understand. More than you know. And I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust again." Her gaze softened slightly. She remembered the nights he had stayed up with her when she was sick, the Sunday mornings they had spent laughing over coffee, the way he had held her when life felt too heavy. Could someone who had hurt her so deeply truly change? "I never stopped loving you, Ethan," she admitted quietly, almost afraid to say it aloud. Her eyes shimmered in the chandelier light. Tears threatened to fall, but she didn't let them. Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to say everything, apologize, beg, confess, but words felt inadequate. "I never stopped either," he whispered finally, his voice raw, unguarded. "I was blind. I let my ego and fear ruin the best thing I've ever had. I can't take back the past, but I swear I'll spend every day making it right." Sophia let her hand slide fully onto his, tentative but willing. The warmth of his touch was electric. It reminded her of every ordinary moment they had shared. The quiet mornings, shared smiles, the comfort of his presence. They walked outside the gala into the crisp New York night. The city buzzed around them, taxis honking, neon signs flickering, the occasional pedestrian rushing by. But the world had narrowed for them. Just Ethan and Sophia. "I don't deserve your forgiveness," he murmured, voice almost breaking. "Maybe not," she replied softly. "But I'm willing to give it, slowly, carefully, and we'll rebuild together." He smiled faintly, a real smile, not the controlled one the world was used to. "I'll spend every day proving it," he promised, and this time, she believed him. They stood on the sidewalk for a long moment. Her head rested on his shoulder, small sigh escaping her lips. "I'm home," she whispered. "Yes," he said, eyes closed, savoring the moment. "You're home." The cold, calculating CO had finally softened. The armor had cracked, replaced by vulnerability and hope. Flashback, their last morning apart. Sophia had packed her small suitcase silently, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I have to go," she whispered, though she wanted to stay. He had stood frozen, watching her, unable to stop her departure, trapped by fear and pride. Now, 3 years later, he was finally ready to make sure she never left again. Back to present. A week later at Cole Enterprises, Ethan and Sophia entered the office together. Employees whispered, but no one dared to ask. The rumors were flying, but Ethan didn't care. Sophia didn't care. They were together, united, strong, real. He held her hand as they reached his office. She rested her head on his shoulder. "I'm home," she whispered again. "Yes," he said softly. "You are." For the first time in years, Ethan felt whole. Not because of power or money, but because the woman he had loved most had returned to him willingly, with forgiveness in her heart. The world outside continued to spin. Deals were made. Calls were answered. But inside, the empire was theirs. Not just business, but love and trust. The following week felt almost magical. Ethan and Sophia moved through New York City like it had transformed just for them. Every street corner, every cafe, every glowing billboard reminded them of their journey, of mistakes, regret, forgiveness, and love. At Cole Enterprises, things had subtly changed. Ethan remained the commanding CEO in meetings, but around Sophia, he was softer, warmer, and more vulnerable. She, in turn, carried her confidence and independence effortlessly, yet allowed herself small moments of closeness with him. Their reunion wasn't instant perfection. Trust, after 3 years of hurt, needed time. But every smile, every shared glance, every gentle touch built the bridge back to each other. One snowy evening, they walked the streets together after a long day of work. Snowflakes danced in the city lights, glimmering like tiny stars around them. "I never realized how much I needed you," Ethan whispered softly. Sophia smiled faintly, warmth filling her eyes. "And I needed you too," she said. "But I also needed to find myself first. I had to stand on my own before I could stand with you again. Ethan stopped in the middle of the sidewalk, turning to face her fully. I'll never let you go again, he said, his voice low, filled with honesty and vulnerability. She reached up, cupping his cheek gently. I hope not, she replied, lips curving into a tender smile. Flashback, the night they parted. 3 years ago. She had packed her small suitcase silently, tears streaming down her cheeks. Ethan had watched, trapped by pride and fear, unable to stop her from leaving. That night had left scars on both their hearts. Now those wounds were slowly healing. Forgiveness, honesty, and patience were giving them a second chance. Back to present, they stopped on a quiet rooftop overlooking the East River. The city sparkled below, skyscrapers glittering under the night sky. Ethan wrapped his coat around Sophia's shoulders, pulling her close. I forgive you, she whispered, leaning her head against his chest. Completely, but we'll rebuild slowly, carefully. He kissed her forehead softly, savoring the moment. And I'll spend every day proving I'm worthy, he murmured, her fingers intertwined with his. The connection was electric, yet comforting. For the first time, they felt whole, not just individually, but together. Weeks passed. Their lives blended work, city adventures, and quiet romance. Breakfast dates at their favorite cafe, late-night office work side by side, shared laughter and inside jokes. Every moment strengthened their bond. Past mistakes never fully vanished, but forgiveness made them bearable. Love had returned, resilient, patient, and real. One evening, Ethan invited Sophia to the top floor of Cole Enterprises. Snow dusted the terrace. Lights twinkled across the skyline. He took her hands in his. Sophia Miller, he said, voice trembling with emotion. I've made every mistake imaginable, but I want the rest of my life to be right. With you. Will you stay with me? Tears glistened in her eyes as she whispered, Yes, Ethan, I'll stay. They embraced, holding each other as the city stretched endlessly around them. The cold CEO had finally realized what he almost lost, and love had returned, stronger than ever. Some mistakes hurt the most, but love has the power to heal everything. Red Heart. If you enjoyed Ethan and Sophia's journey, don't forget to like this video, comment your favorite moment, and follow/subscribe for more romantic stories.